The movie I'm about to explain today has a story so dark and gripping that it'll stay with you for years. The film's name is Pay the Ghost. The story begins in 1679 New York, where we see three terrified children hiding in a basement. From the sounds above, it seems like their mother is being attacked. Suddenly, they hear her scream and the scene cuts. Now we shift to the present day, where a little boy named Charlie is sleeping. He wakes up to a strange noise near his window and tells his mother, Christine, that someone was standing outside. When his father Mike returns from work, he reassures Charlie and puts him back to bed. At his son's request, he checks the window, but there's no one there. The next day is Halloween. Charlie dresses up in a costume and shows his mom a creepy drawing he made of a frightening man. "Mom," he says, "that's the man I saw outside our window." Later that evening, while trick-or-treating with his mother, Charlie spots a dark, shadowy figure standing on a rooftop. It looks horrifying, but Christine doesn't see it. That night, Mike arrives home late and waits outside for his wife and son. When Charlie sees his dad, he runs to him excitedly. Mike suggests taking him to a Halloween parade. Christine refuses to go, so father and son head off alone. During the parade, Charlie suddenly spots that same dark figure again. He points and asks, "Dad, can we pay the ghost?" Mike doesn't understand what he means, when suddenly, Charlie vanishes right before his eyes. Mike had been holding his hand tightly, yet the boy disappeared in an instant. Panicked, Mike shouts his son's name again and again, but Charlie is nowhere to be found. A police officer tells him to go home. Perhaps Charlie went back after the parade. Mike rushes there, but the house is empty. Christine is furious, blaming Mike for losing their son. She yells, "What kind of father are you? You couldn't even protect him." Though it wasn't his fault, the guilt weighs heavily on him. When days of searching bring no result, they call the police again. The officers offer hope but find nothing. That night, Mike hears noises from Charlie's room. He goes to check and even looks out the window. But again, nothing. As he turns to leave, Charlie suddenly appears before him. Overwhelmed with joy, Mike rushes to hug him, only to wake up. It was all just a dream. A year passes. Another Halloween is just 3 days away. Christine and Mike have since separated. She still blames herself for their son's disappearance. But Mike hasn't stopped searching. Every day on his way to work, he puts up missing posters and stares longingly at fathers playing with their sons, reminded of Charlie. One day, Mike meets his old college friend Hannah, a history professor researching similar supernatural cases. Her words give him a flicker of hope. Later, Mike visits Detective Jordan, who's still handling Charlie's case. Frustrated, Mike shows him a file of missing children spanning the last 30 years and accuses him of doing his job poorly. While posting more flyers one day, Mike suddenly spots Charlie inside a passing bus. He chases after it and jumps aboard, but the bus is empty. Then his eyes fall on a wall scrawled with the words, "Pay the Ghost." A memory hits him. Those were Charlie's exact words before he disappeared. Determined to uncover the truth, Mike descends into an underground area where a group of homeless people live. He asks them what "pay the ghost" means. A blind man appears, and moments later, a chilling scream echoes from the darkness. Mike asks what that sound was. The man replies, "I don't know, but it always happens right before Halloween." When Mike presses him again about the phrase, the blind man leads him to a nearby wall where the same words, "pay the ghost," are written. And just then, behind Mike, a shadowy, ghost-like figure flickers into view for a split second before vanishing. Something sinister is clearly haunting this place. After this, Mike goes to see his wife, Christine. He tries to talk to her, and she finally agrees. They meet at a restaurant where Mike tells her about the wall he found, covered with the words, "Pay the ghost." He explains that those were the same words Charlie said to him right before he disappeared. Later, Mike watches some old recordings of Charlie from the previous year. After a while, he sets the camera down on the table, but suddenly, the camera switches on by itself, and through the lens, Mike sees a strange house filled with children. Terrified, he throws the camera away. Meanwhile, at Christine's place, something eerie happens. Charlie's bicycle starts moving on its own. Christine is horrified and immediately rushes to Mike, telling him, "You were right, Charlie is trying to reach us from the other side." Mike then shows her a list he's compiled of all the children who've gone missing over the last 3 years. Together, they visit the parents of a girl named Alexa, who also disappeared on Halloween night. Alexa's father seems completely broken, trapped in deep depression ever since his daughter vanished. He tells Mike the same chilling thing. Before she disappeared, Alexa said those words, "Pay the ghost." He adds, "For almost a year after that, I used to see her, but then she stopped appearing altogether." Mike takes all this information to Detective Jordan, explaining that the children aren't vanishing randomly. Something supernatural is happening. Jordan doesn't take it too seriously, but he still reviews the case files of 2 other missing children, Mia and Paul, who disappeared that same night. Later, Mike drives Christine home. Their relationship, though strained, starts to thaw. Christine speaks to him gently and even invites him over for dinner. Meanwhile, Jordan visits the restaurant where Mia's mother works. When she sees him, her eyes light up with fragile hope. She thinks he's found her daughter, but Jordan only wants to ask about the night Mia went missing. Her face darkens as she says, "Until a few days ago, I could still see her and hear her voice. She kept crying, 'Mom, please save me from this ghost.'" Before she can say more, flames suddenly erupt in the restaurant, engulfing everything in fire. At the same time, over at Christine's house, Mike and Christine are having dinner when the lights suddenly go out. Mike looks out the window and sees 3 children standing outside, dressed in strange, old-fashioned costumes that cover their entire bodies. A moment later, their figures burst into flames, and when Mike turns around, he's surrounded by the ghostly images of several more children who vanish in an instant. Shaken, Mike tells Christine everything he saw. She replies, "Yes, the same thing is happening to me. I can feel it. Something is in this house. Those children are trying to tell us something." The next day, Christine invites a psychic medium to her home, someone who can communicate with spirits. The woman looks out the window and sees numerous ghostly children standing there. Suddenly, a violent gust of wind blows through, and an unseen force grabs her by the throat, trying to strangle her. Moments later, she collapses dead on the spot. Smoke rises from her eyes, and her entire body appears burned as if scorched from within. Christine stood there frozen, watching everything unfold right before her eyes, completely helpless. Moments later, the police arrived at the scene. Mike told Detective Jordan everything that had happened, but once again, Jordan refused to believe him. In fact, he blamed Mike for everything that was going wrong. That night, Christine's tape recorder suddenly turned on by itself. On it, she saw one of Charlie's old drawings. When she looked closely, she noticed something chilling, a small figure of a boy hiding behind a dark, shadowy shape. The boy looked exactly like Charlie. Meanwhile, Mike began hearing strange noises from Charlie's room. When he went to check, he saw Christine standing there, but when she turned around, her face had changed, twisted, and horrifying. Speaking in Charlie's voice, she said, "Dad, it's so cold here. She's coming. Please save me." Mike realized it was Charlie's spirit, trying to reach him through his mother, pleading to be rescued. In that moment, Christine, possessed by the spirit, grabbed a blade and began cutting her own wrist. Mike rushed forward and stopped her just in time, but she fainted. When she regained consciousness, she remembered nothing, except now, a strange mark had appeared on her arm. Seeing it as a sign, Mike took her to his friend Hannah to help decipher it. Hannah explained the symbol's dark history centuries ago. On Halloween night, the Celts had burned a woman alive, accusing her of witchcraft. Not only her, but her 3 innocent children were burned with her. It was the same haunting story shown at the beginning of the film. Before dying, that woman cursed her killers, vowing that every year on Halloween night, she would return for revenge, taking 3 children with her each time this tragedy had occurred in New York, where descendants of the Celts still lived. Every Halloween, they performed rituals to appease spirits. Mike and Christine visited that Celtic community. There, they saw people performing a ceremony, children throwing dolls into a fire to protect themselves from being taken by the ghost. Among them, they met a schoolteacher who told them more about the Celtic sign. Showing them a ring, she explained, "The left side represents the moon, and the right side belongs to the spirit." She revealed that the ghostly woman still appeared every Halloween night, taking children with her, because at midnight, the boundary between the living world and the spirit world opens. But she also said something that gave them hope. The missing children could be brought back, but only within 1 year of their disappearance, and before that boundary closes. That's why Alexa's father could hear his daughter's voice for 1 year and then never again. But there was still a chance to save Charlie and the 2 other children. Christine asked the woman where they could find this boundary. The woman replied, "Every year, before Halloween night, she cries, her wailing can be heard." Mike suddenly remembered the sounds he'd heard coming from beneath the basement, the screams and sobs. Without wasting a second, he and Christine rushed there. On the way, Hannah called. She said she had discovered the ghost's name, Annie Sorfin, and that she had been wrongfully killed along with her children. Annie had been a kind woman, not a witch, but the cruelty she suffered turned her spirit vengeful. Before Hannah could say more, Annie's spirit attacked her, throwing her from above and killing her instantly. Mike raced to the basement where he had first heard the cries. There, he found only the blind man, who told him everyone else had left because Annie's spirit was coming that night. Mike asked, "Where can I find the crying woman?" The old man took him to a bridge, saying, "This is the path to her world, but remember, you must return before midnight or you'll be trapped there forever." Taking the risk, Mike crossed to the other side. There, he saw a strange, gloomy house filled with children, silent, staring. As he stepped inside, all their eyes turned toward him. Desperately, Mike called out, "Charlie!" Every child raised their hand, all wanting to be saved, all longing to go home. Then, one small boy reached out and grabbed Mike's hand. It was Charlie. The 2 embraced, overjoyed to finally find each other. But time was running out. The portal was closing. As Mike began to lead Charlie out, 2 more children appeared. Mia and Paul, the same ones who had vanished with Charlie. "Please," they begged, "take us home too." Mike couldn't leave them behind, so he took all 3 children with him. Just then, Annie's ghost appeared, blocking their way. She tried to stop Mike, but the spirits of the other children, the ones who had died long ago, rose up and pulled Annie back with them, dragging her into the darkness. Mike and the 3 children ran out just in time as the portal sealed shut behind them. When they returned home, Christine burst into tears on seeing Charlie again. Her son was safe, but he remembered nothing. He didn't know where he had been for the past year or what had happened. The only thing he remembered was that it was Halloween night, but none of that mattered to Mike and Christine. Their son was back, and that was everything. Outside, however, the camera lingered on a familiar, chilling figure, Annie's spirit, still alive, still wandering, searching for her next victim. And with that, the story in the film came to an end. Thanks for watching.